Hey everybody, we're back. Block 3 is now available to download, and I've got a couple things I want to go through in this video. The first one is going to be the order of the placement of these land pieces on this particular block, just something you want to watch out for. The second is I saw one of Kim's previous videos where she did the decorative stitching on her land pieces before she laid down the appliques on top of that. So I wanted to try that in this method and show you how I'm going about that. And then the last thing is I had a couple requests to go into more detail on the Quilt-As-You-Go method that I'm using for this. So I'm going to give you a little bit more detail. We're going to piece a couple of these together. Now that I've got almost 3 blocks done, I can kind of piece them together and show you how everything's going to kind of fit together in the long run. All right, so let's dig in, talk about these background pieces and how they should be laid down. All right, I've got block 1 and 2 here, and just to kind of refresh your memory, on the order of the pieces, it's always consistent that, let's say, if this is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, that's the order you're going to place them in. A1's going to go down first, A2 second, A3, so on and so forth. So on these two blocks, 1 and 2, they happen that the order of the black background pieces went A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Now, in block 3, there's something that's a little bit quirky, okay? And let me just explain it to you a little bit. As you saw in the previous video, we generate our patterns using the Quilt Fusion software. So things are kind of automated on the pattern side of things. This allows us to be very flexible and, add some creativity to our blocks prior to actually getting the pattern, which is super convenient, but there's a couple quirks you want to kind of watch out for. And block 3 is a testament to that. So, as I said before, on blocks 1 and 2, you went in order this way. Now, if you notice the lettering and the labels in block 3, this is B1. So this is going to be the first one you lay down, okay? Now B2 is now at the bottom, so this will be the second one you lay down. So you're going to lay down B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. That's the order of these. Now, don't ask me why that order got rearranged in this one. I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes I blame these kind of things on Uncle Gravy and his kind of quirks, but that's the way this one is. So I just want you to watch out, because if you do layer them out of order, the globe lines will not line up, okay? So just make sure you're always following the numbers. The numbers are always right. Okay, so as I put my applique pressing sheet down there, I'm going to grab B1 first. And again, the same technique that I showed you before about lining up the corners still works as long as you go in order. So this is B1. This is B2. So this will be next. And if I line up the corner of B3 with B2, I can be sure that my globe line is going to actually show up like it should. Line up that corner on there. B5. Block 2 over here, which is the block that's going to be sewn next to it, I can just kind of spot check that curve is going to line up throughout the quilt, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and fuse these down. Okay, got my background block cut. Going to lay this on here. And again, just to refresh your memory, just like on the other blocks, these pieces get inset 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the background block. I'm not sure if you can see that in white on white, but there's a 1/4 of an inch allowance right there on the edge. All right, now I can fuse this down, and here's where I saw what Kim did in a previous one. On these decorative stitches that I was doing on the hillsides in the back of each of my previous blocks, I did those decorative stitches after everything was fused down to the background block, okay? Well, what that caused me to do is I had to stop here, do a jump stitch, start here, and so on and so forth. Same with the kangaroo. It gets a little sloppy where those decorative stitches need to do that jump. So what Kim did was she took this right here and went ahead and did her decorative stitches on here without the other applique pieces. And then after she did the decorative stitches, she put the applique pieces, and then and then I will quilt. She's doing the full quilt, I believe, that way. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do my decorative stitches here, and then come back and do the appliques. All right, decorative stitches done. I can now place my other appliques on top. I'm just gonna eyeball this based on what we're getting to the Quilt-As-You-Go method, but I'm going to sew this strip onto the right hand side of this, just like I did on the previous blocks. All these blocks have a strip on the right that I sewed on before I started quilting it down. All right, I've got a piece of batting cut here, just a little bit bigger than my background block. I've got my sashing sewn on the right side. I've got this pretty well fused down, and I'm ready to start quilting. Just layering this with the batting is all you need to do. There's no backing fabric on here right now. And a little confession here, I'm gonna say, you really should be using 100% cotton batting if you're doing the Quilt-As-You-Go method. Unfortunately, I picked up the wrong batting. This is a poly cotton blend, and I've already used it on all the other ones as well, so I'm sticking with it. The problem with this is that it will melt under your iron, and we do need to press open these seams on the batting side. So I'm gonna have to figure something out as I do that. But just so you know, telling you right now, use some cotton. Use 100% cotton batting, and you'll be fine. And if you only have poly cotton or poly right now, we're gonna figure something out together. All right. Okay, now that everything's quilted down, I can go ahead and trim off the excess fabric from the sashing. Now you will notice that with this method, the block has a tendency to shrink the more you quilt it, but never really had a big problem with it, just saying your measurements may be slightly smaller after quilting. Okay, so now I'm going to lay this down right side to right side with block number 2, and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch down the edge here. Okay, I've got these sewn down, and I can open it up, and now I want to open this seam along the edge. This is going to substantially reduce any bulk that I get from the batting. Now, I currently have my iron off. This is a cold iron, so I'm just kind of basically going to press it open with a cold iron. If you used 100% cotton batting, you don't need to worry about it. You can have a nice hot iron and go down this seam and press it open. Now once I've pressed this open and got it open a little bit, my strategy now is going to be, I'm going to lay a applique pressing sheet on it, making sure it stays open. And now I'm going to turn my iron back on and give it a nice pressing. So, got these two sewn together. I've got my third one ready to go. So now again, I can put right sides together, line up those edges, and I'm going to sew another 1/4 of an inch seam down here. Okay, third block sewn on, 1/4 inch seam down there. I'm going to open it up. And again, this is a cold iron, right? All right, so there it is. We got 3 blocks sewn together. Block 1, sashing. Block 2, sashing. Block 3. And then next month, block 4 will be on the next side. My back side of the quilt has these pressed open. There's really not a lot of bulk there, so you don't need to worry about that. And all of these crazy stitches in the back will be covered up by backing fabric. Normally what I will do is, once the whole thing's pieced together, I have my borders on and stuff like that, backing fabric will be layered on, and I'll go back in and I'll stitch in the ditch of some of these seams here just to secure it to the backing fabric and whatnot. So looking forward to seeing you guys next month. Feel free to check out the Facebook group page, share your progress, and we'd love to see what you're doing. Thanks.